Melancholics do not like change. One day it was an especially bright, sunny day, and I said to my Kate, who was melancholic, we should just cancel school today and go to the beach. Well, they were little. It wasn't like we were doing high school work. She was a little girl. She went into her room and she cried for an hour. She was a very godly little girl, so she was going to submit to her mama, but she was just devastated because melancholics, they thrive under routine, schedule, and clear, detailed instruction. They do not like change. They really don't. And anyway, it was cute. I didn't find that out for years. She finally confessed it to me one day. Melancholics like all their ducks in a row, and they can procrastinate because a lot of times they're insecure. They think they can't do something. So usually they're very smart or very talented, and they just can be very down on themselves. And so you have to help them with confidence. They also can be very critical of you. And you might have your melancholic child come to you and say, Mom, you know, you should be doing this, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing this. You know, so they tend to be very critical. As a result of being critical, they have problems in their friendships. And so a lot of times you'll find melancholics have a really hard time making friends. And it's because they're so critical and negative. And people are like, oh, I don't want to be around him, you know, because he's so negative. And so, and they also, when you correct their work, when you give, you know, say, okay, this is what you can do, they will just go ballistic. I can't believe you think I'm such a horrible writer, blah, you know, and they just, and you're like, whoa. I mean, they really, truly can dish it out, but they cannot take it. Emotionally, they are just so, they can be so self-critical. So it's very hard. So I would say, well, no, I won't say that. Paul and Phoebe, they wake up and they say this, whatever happens today is fine with me. They just go along with the flow. You can keep the routine, you can change the plans. The caloric can come and tell them what to do, and they'll go right along. They follow along, the caloric brother and sister, older or younger. Just go right along, merrily, happily. They do not demand attention, so you can overlook them. You know, you can be focusing on the difficult ones, and they just quietly keep going. They love being around people, but they're not like the sanguine. The sanguine sees people as an audience, and the phlegmatic likes to kind of be in the background and just sort of soak it in. But they love to be around people. They can be passive-aggressive and procrastinate. And so you can give them an assignment. They can sit at the table, not move, not make a sound, and then 2 hours later there is nothing that they have done. And you say, so what'd you do? I'm just studying. So did you get anything done? Not yet. It's been 2 hours. I know. So now you can see the potential to clash with the phlegmatic and the caloric. Big time. Okay, Carla. Carla collides with people and she does not even know it. And this is the hardest thing. If you're a caloric, if you're Carla, you just bump right into people and you keep going, and they are like, you leave a wake of destruction. There's wounded people on the sidewalk, there's wounded people on the street. And that's because of this, because your focus is the task. And if people get in the way of the task, oh wow. And so you can hurt your husband, you can hurt your children, your friends, and honestly, because you do so much and everybody depends on you, they'll just let it go. But eventually you can wake up and realize, wow, my relationships aren't that great. And that's usually why. So usually calorics and calorics get along really well, because if you have caloric children and you're caloric, you know how to talk to them and say, look, I will not put up with your shenanigans. If you're going to do this, I'm the mother, you're the child. We're not going to they'll just put their foot down. So they'll go head to head, but the parent will win. Now, A caloric with a sanguine will usually have a more volatile relationship because the sanguine will be very emotional and hurt and wounded. I can't believe you talk to me like that and you don't care about me. And then of course they forget it.
That's awesome.
You have this cycle of problem and so that irritates the caloric mom because she is really wanting things to just keep going. And so all the emotional stuff is irritating. And that's the one thing about caloric. Even now, men are even worse. If your husband's a caloric, this is even worse than them. But they will tend to, they don't want to waste time dealing with emotions. And I have to tell you this really funny thing. Since Zach was going to be in here, but he's not in here, so I can tell it. He said he was unloading his truck set Thursday night. And now Zach is complete caloric. There's nothing else in him. So he's unloading his trunk set, and he's done a lot because my husband's been really, really sick. So he's kind of picked up the ball for me. He was, and so he said to Kate, well, I did this, this, and this, and this for Meredith. I think it really took a load off, and I really think it was effective, and I was effective in being a blessing to her. And then he took a breath and he said, I should do something supportive emotionally too. And that's, I always tease my husband. I say, you make a list, and like number 4, kiss your wife. Number 8, call her and tell her I can't live without her. But that. That tends to be the interaction there between the caloric mom and the sanguine kids, because if they know, they can sometimes treat it almost as a task. Okay, I have to do this to be an effective dad. I have to do this to be an effective mom. Because I think we tend to have that motherly emotion, even if we are caloric, but we do have to watch it. Now, the real collision, I think, comes here, is when Carla collides with Matt and Molly. Because she does not have time for the emotion. They're on the same page with the task, although this is how Carla feels. You're taking way too long on that project, we're getting behind. It's really ticking me off. I want this done by this time. We are not going to discuss it again. Well, Matt and Molly will just go into a deep depression. And of course they tend to be passive aggressive too, so they just won't do it. So then you've got this huge block. The most important thing for Carla is she has to learn to control her temper. She has to learn to be gentle, and she has to learn to look for her children's heart. Because it doesn't matter if they get all their stuff done if she's losing their heart in the process. And that if you're a Carla, that's the biggest thing you have to be careful of. Do you have your child's heart? And even if you have to put it on your to-do list, make sure I have my child's heart. You really do need to do that, because if you lose their heart, you've lost them. And Carla or Carl, the husband, they can tend to lose their child's heart in the process of getting the job done. So usually Carla will not collide with Paul and Phoebe. They will just be passive aggressive. Then when she finds out they've been that way, there's like a huge blow up, and Paul and Phoebe pretty much break up. The other thing with Carla is that sometimes other people actually do have a plan, and it can be a good plan, and you can let your children have some say in different things. Oh, no way! Give me a time check. Okay. Susie collides with Cody and Caroline because Cody and Caroline try to take over, and Susie is fine with that. Really. When Susie is the mom and her children get to be teenagers, and I have watched many a Susie homeschooling mom have the household run by Cody or Caroline, because they're saying, look, this is how it should be, I'm taking over, this is what we should do. And so she really has to get some backbone and say, look, I am the mom, I'm accountable to God, and I need, to call the shots here. And that's very, very important if you're in a situation like that, because Cody and Caroline, by the time they get to high school, they will very strongly exert their will over and over. I cannot say it too much. How many of you have a Cora child in your house? So I will say they will exert their will over and over and over again, and you will sometimes get very weary. Susie doesn't mind conflict, but she would prefer to do something more fun. So sometimes she will. So Susie and Sam and Sarah don't usually have any problems, but they don't get anything done. So if you,
That's awesome.
and usually they're married to someone who's going to step in and say, what is going on in this house? So that can be a real problem there. But usually they're all happy. So not a lot of collision.